Gus is doing a mad one. Hey. That's you. He is so daft. Good morning. It's another exceedingly hot day in London, like 30 degrees, and it's just early in the morning. We're driving back to Edinburgh today, got our suitcases, checked out of our Airbnb, on our way. Scottish people are pretty tight, right? So there was no way I'm going to leave my car here on the street paying 20 or 30 quid a day to park it. So I actually parked it out by a friend's house way in the south of London. There's quite a few streets in the south of London. Here's a top tip for you. There's actually a website that tells you all the free parking streets in London. I wasn't going to park 3 days paying the full whack of fees. No chance. So yeah, we're going to get the tube now to Marina's house, pick up the car, and then we're going back to Edinburgh. Alright, we're in the south of London. We've just travelled about an hour to where our car is parked for free. I'm giving you top tips here if you ever come driving to London and you're a tight Scotsman like I am. I think tight's probably not very accurate. I'm not tight, I'm just poor. Hopefully the car is actually still here though. All looks in good working order, no window smashed. Alright, we're in the car. I want to talk to you guys about something though. Something that interests me, and it's about Scottish accents. We've arrived back home in Edinburgh. Gus, what are you doing? Mad dog. I cannot believe, guys, how cold it is. I can't believe it. For the 3 whole days we were in London, it was 30 degrees. Really amazing weather, awesome stuff. We're back here in Edinburgh and I'm not joking you, it's 13. It's less than half of the temperature it was in London. There is a lot of Scottish people in London. I know a lot of them through my work and just through people I've generally met in London, right? And there's something I've noticed, and I'm noticing right now as I speak, the accents of Scottish people who live in London is different. It's still Scottish, and most people can still identify it as Scottish, right? But it is London Scottish. And I've got quite a lot of mates who are Scottish and live in London, as I say, met them through work, and we all sound really similar. We've got this really similar accent. But we all do one thing in particular. When we come back home to Scotland, either on holiday or business or whatever, we change. I kind of changed my accent back to how it used to be, like when I used to live in Edinburgh full time. And it becomes a lot faster, it becomes a bit higher pitched, and I start using a lot more I's, dinny kens, with the odd bob bag chucked in for good measure. I just speak a wee bit different when I'm back home in Edinburgh. Speaking to my friends from home, when I moved from Edinburgh to London about 5 or 6 years ago, a lot of you guys already know this, but I'm telling you again, I used to live in London. I moved down there about 5 or 6 years ago, and after a few months I started to realise that people were not understanding me. Not just a few people, like lots of people said it. I was too broad, and they used to say things to me like, can you say that again but a little bit less Scottish? My first reaction was, you're a prick. But as I progressed and as I started to speak to more people in London and do more business with different types of people in London, I became softer. My time in London was like 4 or 5 years, and over that course of time I started to speak considerably slower, and that is probably the accent that you see I have today. And by the way guys, I call this London Scottish, this Scottish accent of people who have lived in London. And actually, I know a lot of people from Edinburgh, from Scotland, who never moved to London but have international jobs, and we sound like this now. Still noticeably Scottish, right? You can tell I have this different accent, but it's not hard, it is not fast, it is not the broad Scots that I used to speak when I was growing up. I lived in London for a long time, but I also did a lot of stuff internationally. I lived in Brazil for a long time, and I had to tone it down. And every single Scottish person you meet who has lived in London, or who does live in London, will speak something like this. Very slow, very soft, and probably more rounded on the R's, right? We'll probably still call things wee instead of small, things like that. This softer Scottish that you're hearing from me right now is a type of language that a lot of you guys will understand and be able to recognise as Scottish, but also that you can understand so you can hear what I'm saying. So that flows right down into my YouTube channel as well, because I need to speak in a language that people in America and people in South America, people in the rest of the UK, wherever in the world, Australia, Canada, lots of viewers from all over the place, everybody needs to understand what I'm saying. So that is why I have adopted full-time the London Scottish accent. I hope you like it, basically. And at the end of the day, when you go down to London as a Scottish person, you want to be understood. You want to be understood by people who are from everywhere in the world in London. You also want people to recognise that you're Scottish, very important. What do you guys think? London Scottish. Who do you know of your friends who has become a London Scotsman? So that's it. Gus is doing a mad one. Hey. That's you. He is so daft. Go get the rabbit. Aye, now he's away. Anyway guys, I hope you like these vlogs and I hope you enjoyed this accent version where I talked about something that's really odd but noticeable if you're a Scottish person or if you know a Scottish person. I've got a lot to do guys though, because I am going travelling, big time travelling. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going at the moment, I'm going to keep it a wee secret, right? But it's going to be awesome, I cannot wait. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm just back in Edinburgh and we're away again. Oh, it's going to be good, I can't wait. I can't wait to share it with you guys as well. So keep tuned. Tomorrow and probably the day after that, you're going to see lots of travel-y type things happening on this channel. So for now, I'm going to say farewell, have a good night. Thank you so much for all the comments and love down below. Keep leaving comments and let me know what you're thinking. As always, I'll really appreciate it. Take care.